I'm delighted to say that Stephen Marche joins me from Toronto this afternoon. Stephen, thanks so much for being on the programme. This is a fabulous essay, I think, that you've written because it so encapsulates the drama that we've seen over less than 100 days since Donald Trump became America's president. You talk about the American dream in this essay. You say there was an idea, an assumption really, that if you had enough talent and worked hard and did the smart thing, with a little luck you could live life just as you wanted. The country's founding promise, after all, is life, liberty and the pursuit of happiness. The promise is why success in America does not lead to gratitude, but to an intense sensation of loss. Talk a little bit about what you mean by that sensation of loss.
Well, I think among a certain stratus of the elite, and I mean, I think one thing that's very hard for people in other countries to understand, even ones that are very close, like Canada, is just how big the United States is and how diverse it is and how much of life there is in it, that there are parts of it that are like the third world and parts of it that are like Tokyo. And there's this huge range of perspectives. And that's what's sort of intoxicating about it, is that you can see all of life there. Among a certain subset of the elite, I think they have frankly confused freedom, which comes with duties and responsibilities as well as a need to protect it, with impunity. They just want to be able to do whatever the hell they want. And they feel that any kind of limits on them of any kind, governmental, even moral, or just people calling them losers online, is akin to them being denied their freedom, and is akin to and therefore the failure of the American dream. And that's why, you see Elon Musk out there, who's the richest man on earth, with a chainsaw wanting to burn the whole thing down, even though it's made him so powerful and so wealthy.
You say in this essay that you've crossed the border 100 times at least between Canada and the United States, sometimes once a month when I lived there. I cannot say when I will see America again, and I am quite sure I will never return to the country that I once visited. You think it's changed forever?
I think one thing that we have in Toronto that might be a little harder to see in Europe is that we're so familiar with America that we see the changes right away. I mean, I think Toronto really is the lens by which the world is going to see the American transmigration. And allow me to tell you, like, America is not part of the free world anymore. It is simply no longer a country of laws rather than a country of men. It is there is no equality under the law. It's not. I'm a journalist who writes things critical about Trump. It is absolutely not possible for me to cross the border anymore. And I mean, until I was 33, you didn't need a passport to go from Canada to America, right? I mean, like, I certainly have never considered going to America a trip. You know what I mean? That's just that's like taking the train going to New York from Toronto is like taking the train to wherever, to the sea in England, right? Like, it's just not that big a deal. And that change has been very sudden. It's been very drastic. And I think you can see the effects of that everywhere in American life.
Can I just ask you, you said it's not possible for you to cross the border anymore because you're a journalist who has written critically of Trump. I have a slightly self-serving reason for asking this question, Stephen, because I've been based in Washington, D.C. for 32 years, and I'm supposed to be flying back to Washington tomorrow. And as regular listeners will know, I have held the Trump administration to account, not just since he returned to office, but during his first term as well. You think there's a real threat you think they wouldn't let you back into the country?
Well, I'm not sure they wouldn't. I mean, the problem here is the total uncertainty. No one can say what will happen, but that's the point. Like, when you arrive at the border, you literally will not know what happens to you. And one of those options is you just being sent back. Another one is you being sent to an El Salvadoran prison. That is a non-zero chance of that happening. Right. So that's really what I meant. Right. Like, it's not like if I went to the border, I think the chances are probably okay that I would get through. And the chances are probably okay for you getting through, too. But that's not the same thing as, being able to plan your life, being able to plan your job. your employers being able to plan your job, right? I mean, it is a completely different scenario than it was 6 months ago.
And it is worth underscoring. I mean, clearly a lot of our coverage, and I'm sure yours as well, has been on the sweeping up of many of the student protesters that participated in pro-Palestinian protests. They're clearly being targeted. I think I read this morning over 1,500 visas so far for students from overseas in the United States have now been cancelled.
Because of their opinions.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
Because of their opinions. Like they are being disappeared because of student op-ed editorials, right? Like that's how touchy they are. That's how sensitive the Department of Homeland Security is. So I promise you that when you go back to Washington, you will feel the difference. Every journalist I know there does.
Well, you also, but the other point to make is that it is absolutely astonishing even to be thinking that there might be a possibility that you or I or others wouldn't be allowed to return to the country.
We're talking about America. We're talking about a country that was literally the byword for the opposite of all that up to 6 months ago. The chain, that's what I'm trying to say about Toronto being the point of view to watch this. The change has been very drastic, very sudden. The entire framework by which you approached American government and American society will be different when you return there. It just has to be. I mean, you can see that playing out in the stock market. Right, you can see that playing out in all kinds of aspects of the world's relationship to America. So yeah, it is definitely a dangerous crossing now.
And can I ask you, when you look at this essay that you published in The Guardian over the weekend, do you view it as an elegy for an America that has died, or an epistle of hope that it might one day be revived?
Countries, I wrote The Next Civil War. That was about deep trends that lead countries to collapse from the free world. So I hope I will be taken seriously when I say this. That is a process that is underway, but the opposite process also happens. Countries come out of being unfree. That happened to Korea. It happened to Chile. It's happened to lots of countries in the world. So I have a lot of, obviously that essay is a love letter to an America that is gone. Right. And in that sense, it is very much an elegy. But the love that I have for America, which is very real. And I mean, I think the reason I wrote that piece is that I wanted to express that love now more than ever. That comes along with it a certain hope. I think America for now is closed. But I don't think the Americans that I know, I'm not sure they can stand being closed. I'm not sure that they're going to be able to tolerate that. I think it's inimical to their nature. I think they're living through an un-American phase. And how they respond to that, of course, is going to determine whether they survive as a republic.
Well, Stephen, I'm very grateful to you for joining us on the programme today. That's Stephen Marche, whose essay in The Guardian, The America I Loved Is Gone, is a must-read piece if you're interested in the future of the United States.